Clubhouse. All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to Malibash Spotlight. Tonight we have an amazing guest, Dr. Vibe from the Dr. Vibe show, and he's a man of many hats, and very, 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 very talented. And we're just so excited to have him here. A huge mentor, trainer, teacher. And if you guys have not seen his show, you're definitely going to want to check it out. It's drvibe.com. Or the drvibeshow.com, and I'll post that here at the bottom towards the end as well. But Dr. Vibe, it's really great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Well, Ashley, I am jacked to be here. And whenever I'm in your presence, whether it's digitally or live like this, I always picture your daughter right beside you. So when I think of you, I always think about you and your daughter. So I'm speaking that both you are doing fine, you're keeping safe. I am so excited to be on your platform, sharing with you and your community, whether it's us visually. I hear your boss broadcasting on Clubhouse. I need to know how to do that because I haven't found out how to do it yet. But I'm looking forward to having an epic conversation.
No, and I need to learn a lot from you, and I'm really excited to have you here to share with us. You know, you got a really amazing message that you have this passion for the men in the world of, you know, being able to reach them and all the things and stresses that they go through on a multiple daily basis. And, you know, also just to kind of mentor them in a way that they're not getting, basically. And so that's one of your show topics. And then you and I have talked just a little bit recently, and you told me all these things that you're doing, Chamber of Commerce. I mean, like, it's just absolutely endless. So besides, you know, your amazing show that you do, you know, let's tell the audience what kind of got you started in this, you know, from a little bit of your background history and
Sure.
what got you into your show and kind of branching out from there.
Yeah, well, great question. And before I go further, everyone, I'm not perfect. So there's a disclaimer. I'm not perfect. That's my disclaimer tonight. And I will say just a little bit about myself, and more will come later, because Ashley and myself said, sounds like there may be a part two. We'll see what happens.
I think there's going to definitely have to be a part two. There's, so much cool stuff.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Vibe. I host and produce the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of epic conversations. I've hosted over 3,000 online conversations. So yeah, I've been around for a bit. That's how I got my shiny head. For those who are watching live on the replay, if you're only listening, you can't just vision somewhat of a dark guy with a bald head. You would leave it at that. And I'm a two-time Canadian Ethnic Media Association award winner. 2020, I won for the Best Podcast News Award. 2018, won the Innovation Award, which is the second level highest achievement in the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I have the only online broadcast in the world. Well, there's a few things. I've just thought about more things. First of all, I host the only online broadcast that is featured on the Good Men Project. For those who may not know, the Good Men Project is one of the most viewed sites in the world for men. The website itself gets 3 million unique visitors a month and 6 million page views a month. I've had a weekly spot for the content I produce, which is live audio stuff or pre-recorded audio stuff, every week for the last 8.5 years.
Wow.
So I'm the only broadcaster that has that special spot every week. They put out my content on their platform. Also, since March 2020, I co-host and co-produce the only online broadcast / conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is co-sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. I am based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And through that collaboration and through that team, we were able to reach out to directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers last year.
Wow, that's
amazing. And other things coming down the pipe. I'm a certified, just as of to this afternoon, I'm a certified. I got to look at the title. I was told I'm a certified growth wheel advisor. For those who don't know what growth wheel is, it's an incredible business system, online system, and there's only 4,000 people that have that accreditation in the world. And as of this afternoon, I'm one of those 4,000 people. So I better stop. You want to know how I got started, right?
It's amazing. I love the backstory though, because this is, tell us the backstory of how you got started into everything. I mean, or
Okay.
just basically the show, and then you can
Yeah,
go from there
yeah,
because there's so much. That'll be for
yeah.
part 2.
Let's chop it up. And before we get started, I do conversations. I don't do interviews because I think it's so much better with conversations. How
Yeah.
I got started when I was younger, when I had hair, I used to do college radio, and I absolutely loved college radio.
Wow.
And I graduated from university. I said, great, man. I don't have to read or do essays about things that have no relevance to me.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And then I was downtown Toronto. There used to be a store called Burke's Bookstore. And I used to go in there on a regular basis. It was a community hangout place. Great. Sam and Rita Burke, great pillars of the Black Canadian community. And one day I went into their store and there was a book. Do I still have it here? Let me just check if I have it. If I don't have it, I don't have it. No, I don't
That's
have it.
cool that you even may
Yeah.
have it.
Well, I do have it. It's just not accessible right now. There's a book called Black Men Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous: Stories of the African American Family in Transition. It's back in 1990.
Oh, wow.
So I took the book from the shelf, read a chapter, bought the book, and read that book in one night. Now, remember, I never read a book in one night in all my years before that, especially
I don't
during
think I've
university.
ever,
Yeah.
never done that either.
Yeah. So I said to myself, I want to do something online that will give a safe space for, at that time, Black Canadian men to share their stories.
I love
And
it.
all I started with was a laptop, a microphone, and a dream.
Mm.
And we did our first podcast. Now, podcast is all audio, people. I know everyone calls this a podcast. In its true definition, a podcast is audio only. I'm
Yes.
just saying, I'm not
Yes.
saying.
I can't stand it when people say this is a podcast. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
not a podcast. It's just
Well, everyone has their own thing. I'm not going to shake anyone's tree. I call it a vidcast because it's a video cast. I like to say vidcast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
Yep.
we did our first conversation. Myself and I had a co-host at the time at our dining room table.
That's awesome.
We just started it there, and we did conversations for a while, about 4 or 5 months. And I said, you know what? We need to take a break because I think people are going to get tired of listening and bored of listening to me. We took a break, and most things in my journey have a birth, death, and resurrection. So so if you know where I'm coming from with that, we'll leave it at that. All right. There's a deeper meaning of that, but that's for you to sort of, for those who need to think it out. Came back. I said, you know what? Let's get people and ourselves on this podcast. Who can I get? So, hey, I'm lazy like a lot of you at times. I said, let me get friends I know. And actually, literally what I used to do is we used to go to friends' houses and hang out. I don't have it. I wish I had it. Maybe I'll find it, but I had. If anyone knows the blue microphone, it's a microphone that with a white ball on the top. Geez, I should have had it with me. But if you see me rummaging around, because I'm trying to find it, folks, so I like to be animated here, but can't find it. Oh, I do have it. Yes. So I used to go to friends' houses and hang out, dinner parties and all that. And I used to put this microphone on the table. Blue microphone.
Yep.
So people who are into podcasting probably remember this microphone. I used to plug this down the table, connect it to my laptop, and we just do podcasts. Sometimes they were pre-recorded, sometimes it'd be live.
Wow, that's great.
So another thing, just a little tip, folks, if you're doing conversations, it's good to have props. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Another thing, actually, I'm going to do one other thing.
Yeah.
One other thing. I have some fun here. Give me a different type of conversation here. So people think he didn't win any awards. ... Okay. This is my award from the Canadian Ethnic Media Association 2022.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
all right.
So cool.
So whenever you're having a chance to share about yourself, if you have proof and props, it works.
Yes, it makes it go so much farther along.
Right.
People will actually believe you.
Okay. Well, and I found it too. Here's my 2018 award from the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Now,
Wow. There we go. You got it.
There we go. right? So
Fantastic.
back it up. So for people who are listening audio wise, they're going, this is a waste of my time. But I like to I like to have proof.
Yeah.
And so so I said to myself, all right, we're good at having people on who we know. What about people who I don't know?
Mm.
And at the time, well, there still is in Canada. There's just at that around that time there was this. You have MTV in the States. Our comparison to MTV in the States is something in Canada called Much Music.
Okay.
And at the time, I wanted to interview their first black male VJ,
Oh, awesome.
Michael Williams.
Okay. Okay.
And the thing is, he lived about an hour's drive from where I live. So I said to myself, Mike, I want to interview you. He says, well, if you want to interview, you got to come out to me. I said, what happens half an hour in, you have to cancel and I'm on the road. So time gone, can't get the time back, right? Time never lost a fight. I said to myself, okay, I got to figure this out. How can I grow my base, my reach of people to have on the platform without leaving my home? Went online, lazy moment, typed in shows to help your podcasts. First show that came up is a show called The Podcaster Studio. I'm pretty sure it still exists. A gentleman named Ray Ortega.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it still exists.
Yeah, I think it does too. And he was based in Washington at the time. And and I had a platform. I wasn't happy. I was not happy with my podcast. I said, I want to get bigger. I want to reach what I just need. So I took great SEO. His show was first at the time in the Google search engine. Reached out to him. There. Yep. And within 24 hours, he changed the Dr. Vibe show's trajectory. And one of the key things that he said was, Dr. Vibe, if you want to really get to that next level, you want people to think of you when it comes to black men that do interviews, black Canadian men that do interviews online. You want them to think of you first. I never forget that advice. Have people think of you first. I said, great. Then I said, Ray, what about if I want to have people around the world on this platform? He says, going to introduce you a guy named Mike Phillips. So Mike Phillips lives in South Carolina. So when I reached out to Mike, I said, Mike, I want to have people from all around the world on my show. He said, Dr. Vibe, if you want to have people on around the world, you need to have a mixer. I said, Mike, the only mixers I know are in clubs. He says, well, you got to get out of the club and get in your office in your studio. And Mike spent about 5 hours online with me on the phone via Skype, setting that up.
Wow.
And that was the start of the journey.
Wow. Why is the mixer, for those people who don't know, what makes that the best? Like, what is that changed? What part of that changed your...
Yeah, it allowed more to happen. It was very easy to have a number of people on, whether it was in studio or online. Also add things like music, improve the sound quality, because whether you're doing video or audio only, it's so important to have good audio. People will somewhat tolerate bad video, but they won't tolerate bad audio.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
And that was a very key thing for me. And the mixer that Mike recommended.
5 hours.
Now, the mixer that Mike recommended is still the one I'm using today. Hasn't changed. And so that was the beginning of the journey. And after that, I actually spent some time doing television in the Toronto area. And that's another story, in that it's all about relationships, folks. Really and truly, it's all about relationships. I don't believe in the word connections. I like relationships. I am not transactional. I'm relational. How did I get on TV? I interviewed a gentleman who had a TV show on a cable station here in Toronto. And the last thing I said to him is, if you ever need any help with your show, give me a call. 2 weeks later, calls me up, Dr. Vibe. And the funny thing is, I can start dropping names. I remember these names: Polton McKenzie, Caribbean Headline News. He said, "Hey, one of my reporters has to leave. Would you mind filling in?" I said, "Sure." So I did spend a stint of time doing television also.
That's awesome.
So that is some of the early beginnings of the 3,000 episode journey.
3,000, that is amazing. I'm thinking to myself, I have my personal podcast, and then, with this is not a podcast, obviously, but the shows, we're not even at 100 yet. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's
Hey,
a lot
congratulations.
of,
Congratulations to what you've achieved so far.
yeah, absolutely. And you get to create those relationships with all the people. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, I've built so many relationships by just having people on the show and getting to learn so much about them.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
It's that
That's it.
huge, it's not that connection. It's, you said it, relationships, because if it's just a connection, it's only going to go that far, right? And it's not going to go any farther than that. That's amazing. I love it. So are you still really good friends with him to this day, or
Who?
Michael?
Mike Phillips.
Yeah.
We keep in touch periodically.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and I said to Mike, like, how can I repay you? And him and Ray, and they say, look, whenever you're sharing your story, just mention us. So that's all they want, payment back. And I have to reach out to them because I haven't spoken to them in a little bit of a while. So every time I get on conversation, I get more homework to do. So I'm writing that down on my pad. Homework, Mike, homework, Ray. And and that's another key thing about just saying thank you and checking in with people.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll say be less transactional, be more relational.
Yeah. More relational. I love that. That's fantastic. And it sounds like it was your relations that helped you get into it. So, I mean, you've been doing this since you're a kid. You're, in
Well,
high
I'd say
school.
younger. I don't know about a kid. I think I'm more of a kid now than I was when I started, but go on.
Yeah. So you were doing it. You've been doing it for so long, and you've had such amazing connections that, it sounds like it's created for you so many different opportunities. And
Mm-hmm.
so what you're doing now, and to all the successes and all, your rewards that you've gotten, and, what was it, those connections that kind of encouraged you to get into some of those things that you're like, the Chamber of Commerce that you're in now, and some of the other things that you branched off with. Like, I know now you're trying to do the podcast for the Father podcast,
Keep the brand quiet.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's the whole bunch of things that you're doing, and then like I mean, like, there's so many, I can't remember all of them that we were talking about, but what you can share, what was it that inspired you to add so many things to your show and to branch out?
I just want to see people win. And there's so many different ways but I just wanted to provide people a safe and brave space to share their story.
That's amazing.
Don't want to make it complicated. And another thing too, I'm very passionate about is that we always talk about passion and purpose, right? A lot of people. Now, I don't mind people who have passion and purpose. So I'm going to give you a perfect example. If you came to me and said, Doctor, I've got an opportunity for you to help kids. Hey, I'm a helping guy. Great, fantastic. Then 5 minutes later, you come to me and say, I've got an opportunity for help men and fathers, because I know you want to chat about this before we finish the part one. and I say, I'm going to be more excited about that. So it's great to have passion. It's great to have purpose, but it's got to be relevant to who you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Right?
does make sense, because you
The
can't be passionate
relevancy.
about things that you're not, that isn't your purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
relevancy is so important. So for myself, when I look at an opportunity, am I passionate about it? Does it fulfill my purpose? And is it relevant to who I am? Like, those are the key things. And also, who wins when I do it? And it can't be just me alone. If it's only me alone, I will not do it.
That's so true. What what inspired you to target men? Because that seems to
Mhm.
be like men and fathers.
Yeah.
And what drew you in that direction? Because that is a lot of where your message seems to be,
Well,
focused.
part of it, but it's certainly that has increased. It wasn't original. It was a bit, but it's become more now. Story. Uh, about 12 years ago, my father had suffered a heart attack.
I'm sorry.
And the morning of his surgery, I wheeled him in on his gurney to his room, operating room.
Oof, that's really hard.
And to be honest, my relationship with my dad was not great at that time. So then I spent with my mother 4.5 hours in a waiting room, having those ping pong moments. What if I should have done this, should have done that, this. I woulda, coulda, shoulda moments. So after 4.5 hours, my dad, no, my dad, well, the surgeon came into the room. My life froze because what this man with a cap and his greens would say in 3 seconds would alter the rest of my life. First thing he said was, he's going to be okay. I ran to the surgeon. I got down on my knees and I hugged his leg for a minute. Because this, God, through this gentleman and his team, gave me a second chance with my major role leader. I went into the operating. Yes, I said, "Can I go into the operating room?" He said, "Sure." So I go in there. There's my dad. I go, "Dad, how you doing?" And he said, "I can wiggle my toes." I said, "You jerk. This has been going on so long and you've been keeping it inside of you." That energized me to say, you know what? If my dad is like this, there's got to be other men like this. I'm even like this at times. I began to sit down, listen, to hear men, fathers, men, etc., hear their stories, and hopefully wherever I could provide them a safe and brave space to share who they are, because there are many men out there that are screaming and nothing's coming out. Another fact that people may not realize, in North America, 80% of the suicides that are committed by people over 40 years old are by men. Same thing with teenagers. 80% of the suicides are teenage boys. Capped on top of that, on average, men do not live as long as women. Here's an interesting thing for everyone who, if you're observant, next time you go, well, we're in interesting times because we don't do gatherings as much as we used to, but we will again. I'm confident. Next family gathering you have, compare how many older men there are in the room compared to older women. Many times you'll notice there's a lot of older women there, but where are the men? They either can't get there or many of them have passed away. So I'll just put it right there and let you continue. Okay, you are frozen. Oh, there you're
There we
back.
go. It froze up for a second. Sorry
No
about that.
problem. It's okay. Technology, but we find a
Yeah,
way.
we are good to go right now. We were a little pixelated, but yes. Yeah, so comparison of older men to older women if you go to a family gathering. Yeah, there's a lot. And what are some of the, besides that, like what are some of the struggles that, what are struggles that men are dealing with that they, you that safe place that you want to provide for them to share? What are some of those messages, that you like to want to make sure that you give to them or that they go away with knowing?
Well, one is what's their relationship with their father,
Mm-hmm.
whether they had a father or not, right?
Yeah,
I providing them a safe and brave space to really talk about their father.
that's interesting. Why is because that brings up a lot of
Yeah, that's a whole episode in itself.
yeah, that brings up a whole new ball game. Are you a
Yeah.
certified psychologist as well?
No, no, I'm not. But the thing is, people may or may not realize how much of an impact, good or bad, a man's relationship with a father has had on him.
Mm,
And I always say a key moment in a man's life is when his father passes away.
interesting.
Watch, watch how he reacts, right? Because if the father was around, I'll give you a funny example. When I was younger, like my dad was a public school teacher. He was a public school teacher for 38 years in the same school.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that's probably where I get some of my hard work. I don't call it just focus, passion to do things and a
Hmm.
service. And my mother was a registered nurse, department supervisor for many years. So
Wow.
that's where the service part comes in.
Yeah.
And my dad, whenever and every day for every school day for 38 years, my dad would drive basically an hour to school and an hour back, right? And I asked my dad a few years ago, like, Dad, how did you do this? But what do you mean? Say you drove all this way, sometimes 2 hours, etc. He says, I had to take care of my family. So, especially to the ladies out there, if you have a partner or a husband or a relation, whatever, if you can find out how that man's relationship is currently or was with his father, that may unlock the key to some things that you may not know that you fear are locked away.
Interesting.
And the question goes, every father has a father. The question is, where is that father?
Mm. Whether it's a figurative or it's an actually like, okay, what they see as a father. So it's very important, and you hear it's very important for everybody to have that role model in their life. And for, you hear that where for men, it's very important for them to have that fatherly figure in their life. And why, what are some what are some small, like, what are a few things as to why that is? I mean, we all want to have role models, right? We all want to have that, but why is it such a deep key to who they are?
Well, we all look for respect.
Mm,
Very important respect. And men, that's just generalization. We love to get respect, and many of us are very competitive. And when we get that from our peers, it's a great feeling. We have to realize, though, a lot of
mm,
times it's not the competition that's important; it's the completion we, that's as important.
mm.
But many men have that nature of wanting to achieve. And something that was told to me by one of my elders many years ago. This may be a light bulb for some people. There are at least two times in a man's life. Okay, let me cycle back a bit. Many men like things A plus B equals C. We're very linear. You sound like
Yeah.
you know that from experience. We won't
Maybe
go
just a
there, right?
little.
We won't
Yep,
go
that's
there.
good. We can
Okay,
end it right there.
thank you. Right? But there are at least two times in a man's life, usually, where he's not A, B, C. The first time is, he finishes college or university or is a young guy. He's not a boy anymore, but he's not a man.
Hmm, yeah.
Second time, a lot of guys will get to their early 40s, mid 40s. Midlife crisis hits. I thought I'd be a certain
Hmm.
place in my life at this time, but I'm not there yet. I am I'm not a young man anymore, but I'm not an old man. Where's my identity? It's similar to like when
Mm.
if you ever ride a motorbike, if you're the passenger on a two-wheeler motorbike handling the swerves of life, when you go into the curves, can you hold on? Are you holding on, etc.? And who are you when the wind blows you over? Because there are going to be a lot of times where you get blown over. So I hope some of this is making sense and makes sense, and that your audience understands.
Yeah, I definitely think so, because I mean, it's making sense to me, and I really, you have a really great way of making it super entertaining and just drawing you into listening and just kind of be at the edge of your seat and making that point very clear and concise, and just making it so that you really are thinking about it, like, oh wow, that makes a lot of sense. And it kind of, for me anyways, it kind of sparks a lot of like aha moments,
Well, and we have to realize many men were not taught about relationships. We were
Right.
going up to do this, get ahead in the workplace, sports. Here's an interesting analogy someone showed me a number of years ago. Men in relationships. Many men, when they were younger, played sports.
Yep.
Now, how are men in sports measured? By how many points they get.
Mm-hmm.
There are some men that treat relationships like it's a game and how many scores or points they get.
Mm.
I'll leave that there.
We'll continue that on the next talk, right?
No, well, I think Ashley and I are going to continue that one offline.
I love it. Dr.
Right?
Vi, thank you so much for everything. Is there anything last that you'd like to share with us before we go out for the evening? And obviously, we like to know where we can find you. And I've
Well,
shared your website.
the best, and as I share with people, you want to have a place that's yours. So have a website if you can. So you can go to the drvibeshow.com, the drvibeshow.com. You know what? Give me a second. I want to read something to your audience.
Yes, please.
More and more these days, I like to share off with a message. So just give me if I can give me a moment to share with your audience.
Please, you're
I'm
fine.
just I want to read something here. Okay.
And for your podcast, can people find you to sign up to be on it for like
Oh yeah.
guys are looking to?
I want people to come on and be part of Epic Conversations. If anyone, like, one of the things, I'm a certified coach. I have been. No, funny enough, I've been a certified coach since June 2015.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and the funny thing that happened is that the coach, again, relationship wise, the coaching school and myself, we've had a great relationship for a number of years. And for 2 years, they were bothering me, saying, you got to be one of our trainers. We got to have you as a trainer. I said, nah, 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 nah. I gave in. And since last February, I do weekly coaching classes with members, with students in their coaching school. Now it's and they're
Wow.
and there's students from all around the world. Like my most recent class this past Monday, we had people from Australia, Trinidad,
Wow.
Canada, the United States, the Philippines.
Amazing. That's huge.
And I poop it, but I love it. It's absolutely a blast doing it. It's so, again, it's got to be bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So this a global thing. So I absolutely love it. I want to read something here, and it's called "How Are You Going to Be?" So let me start this reading. Every day we have a choice. We choose how we're going to act, what we're going to do, what kind of code we're going to live by. As the title of Sheila Heti's novel puts it, the essential question of our days and our lives is, how should a person be? That's really the central function of life, to help answer that question well. Each of us has the choice to be good or bad, strong or weak, brave or cowardly. What kind of person will you be? Are you
That's
going to be
amazing.
upright? Are you going to be modest? Are you going to be straightforward? Are you going to be sane? Are you going to be cooperative? Are you going to be disinterested? There are many of us can add many things we can also add to this list: resourceful, resilient, grateful, kind, courageous, still. Certainly, all of these are better than the alternatives: uncooperative, insane, egotistic, crooked.
Mm.
So, what will you choose today? How will you be? That is the question.
It's amazing. And that's an amazing question. Definitely for there. Think about that. And this is a great way to end the show on this really sound note. What are you going to be?
Can I end off the way I usually do with all my epic conversations, even with you?
Absolutely, yes.
So this is how I end off all my conversations. And I've got it in my head now because I say it all the time. First of all, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it.
Mm.
Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect.
Mm.
And remember to give yourselves grace. God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith. And as my grandaunt would say, walk good and live good. And when she said that, she meant live good with people.
Mm. It's amazing. So sweet. I love it. Well, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for listening in, and Dr. Vibe for being on the show. You're fantastic. And we'll have you back on for part 2, 6, 20, whatever it takes.
Anytime you ask, I'd be happy to serve you, your daughter, and your wonderful audience. Hit Malibash. Join the community.
Please.
Join the community. They're doing outstanding stuff. Hey, and am I your first international guest?
Yes, you actually, I'm trying to remember back. Yes, you actually are. That's amazing.
Yay!
Yay!
And that's another good thing I want to suggest to people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's good to be first.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect example. Most of us have moved in our lives. What person do you remember? The first person that comes to help you, or the last person who shows up 10 minutes before you're finished?
Oh, you're so right. Yep. And that's what they say too in life. It's you remember either the first person or you remember the last person. And sometimes the last person's got that negative spin just because you're tired and you're worn out from the day and all that stuff. Yeah. Yep. So true. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And we will check out Doc's websites. He's doing so many great, I mean, absolutely fantastic works, and you will have no ends to the fantastic amount of videos.
It's not hard work. It's heart work.
Heart work. I love it. Heart work, and we're not creating connections, we're creating relationships. And remember what kind of person you're going to be today, tomorrow, and the next day. I love it. All right. Take care, everybody.